Hello students, welcome to my channel. In today's video, I will discuss the MCQs on John Stuart Mill. John Stuart Mill is one of the most important topics for many competitive exams as well as the academic exams. So be with this video till the end. This video is very informative to you. If you didn't subscribe my channel yet, please hit the subscribe button for more such videos. In which city was John Stuart Mill born? Options are Paris, London, New York, Rome. The correct option is option B, London. John Stuart Mill was born in London on 20th May 1806. How many younger siblings did John Stuart Mill have? Options are 4, 6, 8, 10. The correct option is option C, 8. John Stuart Mill was the eldest of the 9 children of the Scottish-born utilitarian philosopher and Benthamite reformer James Mill and his wife Harriet Newborough. What is John Stuart Mill best known for? He was best known for contribution to classical liberalism, social theory, and political economy. So the correct option is option B. Let us know some important facts. John Stuart Mill was a prominent English philosopher, political economist, and civil servant known for his influential contributions to classical liberalism, social theory, and political economy. He advocated for individual liberty, limited government intervention, and utilitarianism. J.S. Mill was an advocate for which social reform? He was related to women's suffrage. Suffrage means voting rights. Now the statement-based question. These type of questions are oftenly asked in the competitive exams. Let us see the statement. Statement A says, John Stuart Mill advocated for the principle of utilitarianism in ethics. This is correct. Utilitarianism is the idea that actions are right if they promote happiness or pleasure and wrong if they produce unhappiness or pain. This is also correct. So the correct option is option B. Both statement A and statement R are true and statement R is the correct explanation of statement A. Let us know some important facts about this topic so that you can attempt many direct as well as indirect questions related to this topic. John Stuart Mill was a strong proponent of utilitarianism, which he described in his book Utilitarianism. This book is also very important, oftenly asked in exams. According to utilitarianism, the morality of an action is determined by its overall utility, meaning the greatest good for the greatest number of people. Mill's ethical philosophy emphasized the importance of happiness and the reduction of suffering as the ultimate goals of human life. He gives the importance of happiness in human's life. Which of the following is not a book written by John Stuart Mill? For solving these type of question, you must have to know about the books written by the particular thinkers so that you can easily identify the odd one. Sometimes it is also asked that identify the book written by the particular thinkers. So if you know the works of the particular thinkers, then you can easily identify the similar one as well as the odd one. Let us see the options one by one. A System of Logic. It was written by John Stuart Mill. The Communist Manifesto. It was not written by John Stuart Mill. It was written by Karl Marx. Principles of Political Economy. It was written by John Stuart Mill. The Subjection of Women. It is one of the most prominent books of John Stuart Mill. About this book, oftenly questions is asked in competitive exams. So, the correct option for this question is option B, the Communist Manifesto. It is a political pamphlet written by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels and originally published in London in 1848. The publishing years of the books is also very important because the publishing years is also asked, and on the basis of publishing year the sequence type of question, order type of question is also oftenly asked. So let us see the publishing years of these books. The System of Logic. It was published in 1843. The Communist Manifesto. It was published in 1848. Principles of Political Economy. It was published in 1848. The Subjection of Women. It was published in 1869. So suppose the order type of questions are asked related to these books, you can also attempt the question correctly. What is the title of Mill's autobiography? Options are given to you. For solving these type of questions, you must know the writer of these books, and if you know the publication years of these books, it will help you for solving the order type of questions related to these books. My Life and Times, authored by Jerome K. Jerome, and it was originally published in 1926. Memos of an Economist. It was authored by George Stigler and originally published in 1985. Autobiography. It was authored by John Stuart Mill and originally published in 1873. Confessions of a Philosopher. It was authored by Brian Magee and originally published in 1997. So the correct option for this question is autobiography. In his autobiography, which J.S. Mill wrote in the 1850s, he acknowledged his father's contribution in shaping his mental abilities and physical strength to the extent that he never had a normal boyhood. J.S. Mill was familiar with the writing of whom? Options are Euripides, this is correct. Polybius, this is also correct. Sophocles, this is also correct. Thucydides, this is also correct. So the correct option is option B. Arrange the following events in chronological order based on J.S. Mill's education. Started learning Greek at the age of 4. Began reading Plato's dialogues, logic, and history at the age of 10. Started learning Latin at the age of 8. Began reading proofs of his father's books at the age of 11. So the correct sequence is 1, 3, 2, 4. Correct option is option A. J.S. Mill started learning Greek at the age of 4, Latin at 8, read Plato's dialogues, logic and history at 10, and began reading proofs of his father's book at 11. Match the age of J.S. Mill with the corresponding educational milestone. J.S. Mill was a voracious learner and reader since from his childhood. Age 4. At the age 4, he started learning Greek. Age 8, at the age 8, he started learning Latin. Age 10, began reading Plato's dialogues, logic, and history. Age 11, began reading proofs of his father's book. His father wrote the famous book, The History of British India. So the correct option is option A. Which areas of mathematics could John Stuart Mill solve problems in? Algebra and geometry. This is correct. Differential calculus. This is also correct. Higher mathematics. This is also correct. So the correct option is option D, all of the above. John Stuart Mill was a proficient in various branches of mathematics, including algebra, geometry, differential calculus, and higher mathematics. His expertise in these areas showcased his intellectual abilities and contributed to his reputation as a polymath during his lifetime. Which of the following statements is correct about John Stuart Mill? A statement-based question is also often asked in competitive exams. For solving this type of question, you must know about all the statements precisely. John Stuart Mill did not remember his mother's contributions to his early years because his father's influence was so strong. This is correct. About this, we have already discussed in the autobiography of John Stuart Mill. At the age of 13, he was introduced to serious reading of English classical economists. This is also correct. He published an introductory textbook in economics at the age of 14. This is also correct. His book, entitled Considerations on Representative Government, was published in 1830. This is not correct because it was published in 1861. So the correct option is option B. A, B, and C. John Stuart Mill came to value poetry and art from whom? Options are Thomas Carlyle. This is correct. Samuel Taylor Coleridge. This is also correct. Auguste Comte. This is also correct. Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. This is also correct. So the correct option is option A. From Thomas Carlyle, Samuel Taylor Coleridge, Isidore Auguste Comte, Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, and Wordsworth too, John Stuart Mill came to value poetry and art. Who reviewed Alexis de Tocqueville's Democracy in America in two parts in 1835 and 1840? This book is very important, Democracy in America. Options are given to you. What is the correct option? The correct option is option D, John Stuart Mill. Let us know some important facts about these thinkers because these thinkers are also very important for exam perspective. Ralph Waldo Emerson, influential essayist and philosopher known for his work on transcendentalism and individualism. Nathaniel Hawthorne, renowned author of The Scarlet Letter, exploring themes of sin and guilt in Puritan society. Henry David Thoreau, notable transcendentalist writer, philosopher, and naturalist, famous for his essay Civil Disobedience. John Stuart Mill, English philosopher and political economist, advocate for utilitarianism and women's rights. Arrange the following works by John Stuart Mill in chronological order. For arranging the books, you must know the publishing years of that particular book precisely. On Liberty, it was published in 1859. A System of Logic, this was published in 1843. Three Essays on Religion, it was published in 1874. Utilitarianism, this book was published in 1861. So, what is the correct sequence of this book? The correct sequence of this book is first System of Logic, then On Liberty, then Utilitarianism, then Three Essays on Religion. John Stuart Mill argued for the distinction between higher pleasures and lower pleasures in his utilitarian philosophy. This is correct. He was a staunch supporter of the traditional Benthamite utilitarianism. This is not correct. He was the critic of traditional Benthamite utilitarianism. Assertion is correct, but reason is false. Option C. John Stuart Mill, in his utilitarian philosophy, made a significant departure from traditional Benthamite utilitarianism by introducing the concept of higher and lower pleasures. He argued that intellectual and moral pleasures are of higher quality and therefore more valuable than mere physical pleasures, aligning with his emphasis on the qualitative aspects of happiness and pleasures. Which two philosophers did John Stuart Mill critically dissect in his essays between 1838 and 1840, leading to a departure from traditional Benthamite assumptions? The correct option is Jeremy Bentham and Samuel Taylor Coleridge. Option C. Mill's essays on Bentham and Coleridge, written between 1838 and 1840, allowed him to critically dissect Benthamism, leading to significant departures from traditional Benthamite assumptions in his later works. Which philosopher heavily influenced John Stuart Mill's early education? Jeremy Bentham. The correct option is option C. John Stuart Mill was heavily influenced by his father James Mill, who was a close friend of Jeremy Bentham. This early exposure to Bentham's utilitarian thought shaped Mill's intellectual development. What did John Stuart Mill reject in Bentham's theory of human nature? It was the idea that humans are solely driven by narrow self-interest. Option B is the correct option. One of the key criticisms John Stuart Mill had of Bentham's utilitarianism was the rejection of Bentham's belief that humans are solely driven by narrow self-interest. Mill argued that a desire of perfection and sympathy for fellow human beings are fundamental aspects of human nature, contrary to Bentham's views. Arrange the following events in chronological order based on John Stuart Mill's contributions to the development of utilitarian thought. First, Introduction of the word utilitarian into the English language at the age of 16 in 1822. Then increasing criticism of Bentham's theory of human nature in the beginning of 1830s. Publication of Bentham in 1833. Then publication of remarks on Bentham's philosophy in 1838. So the correct sequence is 2, then 3, then 1 and 4. And correct option is option B. What is one of the central tenets of Mill's political outlook, emphasizing the potential for improvement? According to Mill, both rules of society and people themselves are capable of improvement. Improvement is inevitable. In the absence of the support of society and people, improvement can't be done. So the correct option is option C. One of the central tenets of John Stuart Mill's political outlook was the belief that both the rules of society and people themselves are capable of improvement. This optimistic view emphasized the potential for progress and change, reflecting Mill's confidence in the capacity for societal and individual betterment. According to Mill, what belongs to human nature? Contrary to Bentham's belief. About this, we have already discussed. So, what is the correct option for this question? The correct option is desire of perfection and sympathy for fellow human being. Option C. John Stuart Mill believed that the desire of perfection and sympathy for fellow human beings are inherent to human nature. This belief contrasted with Bentham's notion and highlighted Mill's more nuanced understanding of human motivation and behavior. Which of the following statements about Mill's upbringing is true? I think this question is also very easy and I have discussed about this question many times. He was homeschooled and rigorously educated by his father. Option A. In which year did John Stuart Mill begin writing for newspapers and periodicals? It was 1826. In 1826, at the age of 20, John Stuart Mill started writing for newspapers and periodicals. This marked the beginning of his influential career as a philosopher, political economist, and civil servant. Match the book of J.S. Mill with the concept mentioned in them. First, considerations on representative government. This is related to ideal government. On liberty. This book is one of the prominent books of J.S. Mill. It was written on the concept law, rights and liberty. Utilitarianism. It was a book written on a distinction between happiness and pleasure. About this also we have discussed many times. A system of logic. This is related to philosophy of science. So the correct option is option D. Considerations on representative government and ideal government focusing on principles like proportional representation and the protection of minority rights. These facts are very important. On Liberty, it was written in 1859, is a classical elaboration of liberal thought emphasizing law, rights and liberty. Famous pamphlet Utilitarianism, published in 1861, J.S. Mill argued for the distinction between happiness and pleasure within the framework of utilitarianism. Mill's work, a system of logic, is influential in field of philosophy of science. What is the central idea behind Mill's harm principle? This is people should be free to do whatever they want as long as it doesn't harm others. According to Mill, what distinguishes higher pleasures from lower pleasures in qualitative hedonism? This is inherent qualities and the use of higher faculties. Option C. Let us know some important facts about this topic for solving many direct as well as indirect questions related to this topic. Mill argues that some types of pleasure are more valuable than others due to their inherent qualities. Higher pleasures involve the use of higher faculties such as intellect, feelings, imagination, and moral sentiments, making them superior to lower pleasures. What does Mill prioritize in human existence? As stated in his famous quote, it is better to be a human being dissatisfied than a pig satisfied. Better to be Socrates dissatisfied than a fool satisfied. It is intellectual and more fulfillment over mere sensual pleasure. Sensual pleasure means lower pleasure. The option B is the correct option. Mill's quote emphasizes the superiority of intellectual and moral fulfillment, that is, higher pleasures over mere sensual pleasure, lower pleasures, highlighting the qualitative distinction he makes within hedonism. According to J.S. Mill, what is the principle that governs not only morality but also prudence and taste? This is the principle of utility. Option C. Mill asserts that the principle of utility governs not only morality but also prudence and taste. It serves as a meta principle of practical reason in these areas of human action. What is the critical difference, according to Mill, between morally wrong actions and inexpedient actions? Morally wrong actions cannot be recommended and should be sanctioned, unlike inexpedient actions. Option C is the correct option. Mill distinguishes morally wrong actions from inexpedient actions based on the fact that morally wrong actions are those that cannot be recommended and should be sanctioned through formal punishment, public disapproval, and bad conscience. What did Mill believe about individuality? It is essential for human development and societal progress. Option B. About this already we have discussed. At what age was John Stuart Mill introduced to serious reading of English classical economists? At the age of 13. John Stuart Mill was introduced to serious reading of English classical economists at the age of 13, indicating his early exposure to advanced economic theories and ideas. How does John Stuart Mill differentiate between act utilitarianism and rule utilitarianism in his moral theory? Act utilitarianism focuses on consequences, while rule utilitarianism emphasizes adherence to social rules promoting happiness. Option A. Mill's position can be understood as both act and rule utilitarian. Act utilitarianism pertains to actions that promote happiness, while rule utilitarianism focuses on following social rules that, when observed, lead to the greatest happiness for society. Mill combines elements of both theories in his moral philosophy. How does J.S. Mill differentiate between the objectivity right act and morality right act in utilitarianism? The objectively right act depends on actual consequences, while the morally right act follows justified rules of the established moral code. J.S. Mill distinguishes between the objective rightness of an act based on actual consequences and the moral rightness of an act determined by justified rules of established moral code. Moral obligations are derived from following these established rules. According to Mill, why does he reject the objection that utilitarianism permits murder and other crimes in certain circumstances? Mill argues that a general rule allowing such actions would be worse than a rule prohibiting them. Mill contends that allowing actions like murder based on individual judgments of happiness would lead to chaos, and a general rule prohibiting such actions is essential for promoting societal happiness. What does Mill's first formula of utilitarianism state about actions? This utilitarianism is very important. So you must know precisely about this utilitarianism. Actions are right in proportion to their promotion of happiness, but not necessarily morally right. Mill's first formula states that actions are right in proportion to their tendency to promote happiness and wrong as they tend to produce suffering. This statement provides a general characterization of practical reason, indicating what makes actions objectively right or wrong, but not necessarily morally right or wrong. Which of the following liberties does not come under J.S. Mill's specific liberties? Liberty of conscience. This is there. Liberty of thought and feeling. This is also there. Absolute freedom of opinion. This is also there. Freedom of reservation. This is not there. So the correct option is option D. Let us know about the J.S. Mill's specific liberties. Liberty of conscience, liberty of thought and feeling, absolute freedom of opinion, liberty of expressing and publishing opinions, freedom of speech and praise, freedom to unite for any purpose, that is also known as freedom of assembly, liberty of forming the plan of our life to suit our own character, of doing what we like, even if this appear to be foolish, perverse, or wrong. Any society without these liberty, Mill declared, was not free. So these liberties of Mill is very important. The only freedom which deserves the name, he wrote, is that of pursuing our own good in our own way, so long as we do not attempt to deprive others of theirs or impede their efforts to obtain it. How will Mill justify the differentiation between morality right and objectively right action in his utilitarian framework? Morally right action follows justified social rules, while objectively right action depends on individual judgment of happiness. Mill distinguishes between the objectively rightness of an act based on actual consequences and the moral rightness of an act which is determined by justified social rules of the established moral code. Morally right action adhere to these rules, whereas objectively right actions depend on actual consequences. Which essay by J.S. Mill addresses the issue of the legal subordination of one sex to the other and criticizes the role of women in Victorian Britain. It was the subjection of women. Option B is the correct option. The Subjection of Women, it was published in 1869. Mill criticizes the legal subordination of one sex to the other, arguing that it is incompatible with the principles of modern society. He was one of the most famous proponents of the female voting rights. According to Mill, what is the first step in the model of moral deliberation he designs in utilitarianism? Examine which moral rules in the society's moral code are pertinent to the situation. Option B is the correct option. In Mill's model of moral deliberation, the first step involves examining which of the rules in the moral code of the society are relevant to the given situation. Which of the following is not a principle of utilitarianism according to J.S. Mill? Actions are judged by their consequences. This is correct. This is there in principles of utilitarianism. Happiness is the ultimate goal. This is also there. The pursuit of pleasure is the only worthwhile endeavor. This is not correct. The well-being of all is important. This is also there. So the correct option is option C. What did J.S. Mill believe about the government's role in society? Government should have limited intervention, allowing individuals freedom. He always supports the individual freedom. That's why he says that the limited intervention of the government should be there. Option B is the correct option. How did John Stuart Mill overcome his mental crisis in 1826? This is also one of the most important questions often asked in exam. It was solved by discovering the romantic poetry of Coleridge and Wordsworth. Option B. In 1826, John Stuart Mill experienced a mental crisis where he lost all his capacity for joy in life. So he went in depression. He managed to overcome this difficult period by discovering the romantic poetry of Samuel Taylor Coleridge and William Wordsworth, which inspired him and brought a sense of purpose and solace back into his life. This experience played a significant role in shaping his intellectual and emotional development. What did John Stuart Mill consider Harriet Hardy Taylor to be in his life? The honor and chief blessing of his existence. Option C. Mill described Harriet Hardy Taylor as the honor and chief blessing of his existence. He found immense inspiration in her and believed she would have been a significant figure in history had she lived in a time when women had greater opportunities. What literary works did John Stuart Mill acknowledge joint authorship with Harriet Hardy Taylor? As Harriet Hardy Taylor was the staunch supporter of individual freedom, liberty rights, then gender equality, and the female rights. So the correct option would be Option B, on liberty and the subjection of women. Option B. Mill acknowledged that he and Harriet Hardy Taylor were joint authors of influential works such as On Liberty and the Subjection of Women, reflecting their shared commitment to ideas of liberty and gender equality. In which year did John Stuart Mill marry Harriet Hardy Taylor, his collaborator and love interest? The correct option is option C, 1851. John Stuart Mill married Harriet Hardy Taylor in 1851 after the death of her husband John Taylor in 1849. Their relationship was a significant influence on Mill's philosophical and personal development, whose influence was significantly dominant in John Stuart Mill's formative years to the extent that he could not recall his mother's contribution. This question is very easy, already discussed many times. The correct option is option C, his father. John Stuart Mill's formative years were heavily influenced by his father, and his father's teachings and guidance played a crucial role in shaping his intellectual development to the extent that he could not recollect his mother's contributions during his childhood. By the age of 8, which ancient text had John Stuart Mill read? Aesop's Fables, Xenophon's Anabasis, and whole of Herodotus. Option B is the correct option. By the age of 8, J.S. Mill had read Aesop's Fables, Xenophon's Anabasis, and the whole of Herodotus, and was acquainted with Lucian, Diogenes, Laertius, Isocrates, and 6 dialogues of Plato. What subjects was John Stuart Mill taught apart from Greek and ancient texts during his early education? Arithmetic, physics, and astronomy. Option C is the correct option. In addition to his extensive knowledge of Greek and classical literature, Mill was taught arithmetic, physics, and astronomy during his early education, reflecting the breadth of his early intellectual pursuits. What popular novels did John Stuart Mill enjoy reading in his spare time? Don Quixote and Robinson Crusoe. Option B. In addition to his academic pursuits, John Stuart Mill enjoyed reading natural sciences and popular novels during his spare time. Two of the novels he particularly enjoyed were Miguel de Cervantes' Don Quixote and Daniel Defoe's Robinson Crusoe, showcasing his diverse literary interests. Who was John Stuart Mill's pen friend and founder of positivism and sociology? It was Auguste Comte. Option C. John Stuart Mill maintained a pen friendship with Auguste Comte, the founder of positivism and sociology, starting from November 1841. This intellectual relationship influenced Mill's philosophical outlook and shifted his focus from Bentham's psychological egoism to Comte's sociable view on human nature. What aspect of human nature did John Stuart Mill favor in Comte's philosophy over Bentham's ideas? Sociable view focused on historical facts and human complexities. Mill came to favor Comte's sociable view of human nature, which was focused on historical facts and directed more towards human individuals in all their complexities. This perspective contrasted with Bentham's cold, abstract view, leading to a shift in Mill's philosophical perspective. What subject did John Stuart Mill publish an introductory textbook in at the age of 14? It was economics. John Stuart Mill published an introductory textbook in economics titled Elements of Political Economy in 1820 when he was just 14 years, demonstrating his early intellectual prowess in the field of economics. In which year was John Stuart Mill elected a foreign honorary member of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences? It was 1856. What organization did Mill work for instead of attending Oxford or Cambridge? It was East India Company. Option B. Mill worked for the East India Company instead of studying at Oxford or Cambridge. Why was John Stuart Mill not eligible to study at the University of Oxford or the University of Cambridge? Because he refused to subscribe to the 39 Articles of the Church of England. Mill was a nonconformist and refused to subscribe to the 39 Articles of the Church of England, making him ineligible to study at Oxford or Cambridge. Where did John Stuart Mill attend lectures on jurisprudence? University College, London. Option C. Mill attended University College London where he heard the lectures of John Austin, the first professor of jurisprudence. What was the title of the economics textbook that John Stuart Mill published at the age of 14? It was Elements of Political Economy. John Stuart Mill published an introductory textbook in economics titled Elements of Political Economy in 1820 at the age of 14, showcasing his early expertise in the field of economics. Which of the following does not belong to the different section of the utilitarianism according to J.S. Mill of the connection between power and utility? Mill separated his explanation of utilitarianism into five different sections. General remarks, what utilitarianism is, of the ultimate section, of the principle of utility, of what sort of proof the principle of utility is susceptible, and of the connection between justice and utility. Mill argues that virtues is desirable as part of one's happiness. According to Mill, virtue brings out higher pleasures. It means that exercising virtue gives one higher pleasure which is more valuable. This is why virtue is considered valuable. In Karl Marx's Critique of Political Economy, what criticism did he have regarding John Stuart Mill's thinking? Marx criticized Mill for positing the categories of capital in an historical fashion. Option B. Karl Marx, in his critique of political economy, mentioned Mill in Grundrisse. Marx contended that Mill's thinking posited the categories of capital in an historical fashion. What are the two fundamental principles defended by John Stuart Mill in his work Considerations on Representative Government? Extensive participation by citizens and enlightened competence of rulers. Option C. In Considerations on Representative Government, Mill defended two fundamental principles extensive participation by citizens and enlightened competence of rulers. How does Mill's stance on plural voting in Considerations on Representative Government change over the course of the work? He initially supports plural voting but later repudiates the idea. According to Mill, how can the incompetence of the masses in politics be overcome? By giving them a chance to take part in politics, especially at the local level. Mill believed that the incompetence of the masses could be overcome if they were given a chance to take part in politics, especially at the local level. How do readers interpret Mill's stance on democracy based on his work, Considerations on Representative Government? Mill is considered as elitist Democrat. This is correct. Mill is considered a participatory Democrat. It is also correct. Both A and B is the correct option. Option C. Readers interpret Mill's stance on democracy differently. Some consider him an elitist Democrat due to his emphasis on enlightened competence, while others count him as an earlier participatory Democrat because of his support for extensive citizen participation. According to John Stuart Mill's recommendations, what are the three tax policies the government should implement to help alleviate poverty? That is, fairly exit income tax, inheritance tax, and policy to restrict sumptuary consumption. What did Mill argue would be the result of unlimited economic growth according to his observations in Principles of Political Economy? The correct option is B option, destruction of the environment and reduce quality of life. Mill argued that the logical conclusion of unlimited growth would be the destruction of the environment and the reduced quality of life. What did Mill propose as a preferable alternative to unending economic growth? A stationary state. Mill concluded that a stationary state where economic growth is limited and sustainable could be preferable to unending economic growth, considering the negative consequences on the environment and quality of life. In which chapter of Principles of Political Economy did John Stuart Mill recognize the consequences of unlimited economic growth on the environment and quality of life? Book 4, Chapter 6. In Book 4, Chapter 6 of Principles of Political Economy, titled of the stationary state, Mill recognized the negative impact of unlimited economic growth on the environment and the quality of life. Where did John Stuart Mill pass away in 1873? It was Avignon, France. John Stuart Mill died in Avignon, France in 1873. His contributions to philosophy, economics, and social theory continue to be studied and respected worldwide. Please like, share, and subscribe.